is Iannielli, and I am a male to female transgender woman, and I'm doing this video because I'm feeling pretty depressed, and I have my cycles of depression, and sometimes I really have a severe emotional connection to my depression. The depression is always constant, and it definitely is attributed to my gender dysphoria. I've been transitioning now for around 3 years, and I've battled with depression all throughout my life. It all stems from my internal struggles with my gender. Plus, I think I've been prone to depression. My mom, unfortunately, struggled her whole life with depression. She was actually diagnosed with manic depression, and sadly we lost her at the age of 49. She died young. Depression robbed her life, and it was very sad. My mom went from a very strong-willed woman to someone barely recognizable. She went from about 120 pounds to 65 pounds in the hospital. I remember going back and forth. I was 29 actually when my mom passed, and I remember going to visit her. I was working in the city at the time, and I always treasured those precious moments when I could just hold her hand, even though she couldn't talk. I just wanted to know that we had that connection. And I remember the last time I visited her, I knew she wasn't doing well. And I asked her if she could hear me, just to squeeze my hand, so I knew that she was able to hear me and know that I was present in the room with her. And she faintly squeezed my fingers, so I knew in my heart that she was still with us. But sadly, 3 days later, she passed, and it broke my heart. It was very sad, and I cried a lot. I loved my mom. She was wonderful. She was one of my heroes. My dad too. My dad was very strong, and he supported my mom. He was always there at the hospital, but my mom was not strong. She was very weak, and I don't know, she just gave up. She lost her will, and it was so sad. I just felt so sad for her, and I didn't know why she had to suffer so much. It pained my heart, and I was struggling myself. I don't know why people have these crosses to bear in their life. My dad also struggled. He was a hard-working man, and he committed suicide 5 years ago. He struggled with alcoholism, and he had a job that stole his life. He was an iron worker, and he saw death in his business, and it was hard for him, and it affected him, and he escaped his pain by drinking, and it affected the whole family. It affected my mom, it affected us, my two sisters and I. Excuse me. And it was sad that my dad had to struggle too. It was like both my parents struggled, and I had my own struggles. I couldn't deal with my own gender problems. I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. I was emotionally a mess. I was so depressed growing up. I was very alone inside. I didn't have many friends. Life was not easy for me, but I tried, and I did my best. I pursued my schooling, and I was good in my grades. I did my college. I went to school for engineering. I excelled in math and science. And I took accounting. I just wanted to do good. I wanted to be the best I could be. And I had to escape my pain. The only way was to dress up. It gave me some sense of relaxation and helped me cope. I didn't understand why I had this anomaly, whatever you want to call it. Gender dysphoria, gender identity disorder, I don't know what you call it. All I know is I didn't feel normal. I was depressed, and I knew I was different. And I really tried to fit in. I tried to cope. I never dated anyone. I never dated girls. I was very shy and insecure. And I used to have crushes on girls, but I couldn't talk to them. And I had this pain in my heart because I felt so alone. Alone and depressed. I don't like to be that way. Life is hard enough. I'm sorry, I'm very emotional right now. I'm transitioning and I'm on hormones. And I got all these people giving me attention that I'm not used to. I never had attention before. And now people are constantly bombarding me with attention on Facebook, and I'm not used to it. I just want I don't know what I want anymore. I want to be happy. I love my son. He's my life. And my son struggles. He's autistic. And autism is very hard to deal with emotionally. And I miss my son terribly. He goes away to school, so I don't see him that often. I only see him on the weekends. But I am very sad that I don't see him. I mean, not the weekends. What am I saying? I don't see him. I only see him on the holidays. And he goes to school 6 hours away. It's very far. But I try to talk to him every day on the phone. Some days he has good days, some days he doesn't. But I try to encourage him. Even though I'm a mess, I try to help him. He's good. He's a wonderful kid. And I love him so much. And he accepts me for me. And we have a wonderful relationship. My wife and I love each other, but we don't have that kind of relationship where husband and wife are involved and completely committed to each other. We are kind of separate, but we live together. And I love her. I would do anything for her. She's my first love. I was a virgin until I was 37 years old. I never dated. I never dated because I was gender confused. The first time I had sex was with my wife on our honeymoon. And luckily we had our baby, a miracle baby. But I was very shy and insecure, lonely, depressed. And I was very unsure of myself. And I couldn't talk to anyone, and girls especially. And I always wanted to just be able to be myself. And I knew I couldn't because nobody understood who I was. I didn't even understand who I was. All I know is I was hiding. I used to go on road trips all by myself. I used to drive down to Florida non-stop. I went by myself. I had nobody, no friends. But I had to do something. I was running away. I would drive down to Florida just on the whim and just live on the edge. And that was when I was working, when I had money, but I was still living at home. And my mom was still alive. I was around 23, 24. And then I flew out to California, and I remember flying out to California, landing in LAX, and driving to San Diego, and hanging out in San Diego. I went to Balboa Park, I went to the Coronado Bay Bridge, I went to the San Diego Zoo, then I went to Redondo Beach, which was between San Diego and Los Angeles. I also stopped in Anaheim. I went to Disneyland. Then I went from there to Los Angeles. Oh yeah, and then when I was in San Diego also I saw a San Diego Padre game. Then I went to Anaheim, and I also saw a California Angel game when they were called the California Angels. And then I went to Los Angeles. I went to Hollywood Boulevard. I went to Rodeo Drive. I went to Sunset Boulevard. I went to Venice Beach. I went to the Chinese Theater, that famous place. I went to the Dodgers. I saw the Dodgers at the Dodger Stadium. And then I went from there, I drove to San Francisco. And I went to see a Giant game at Candlestick Park when they still had Candlestick Park open. So I did things, but I did things by myself. And I was really running away. was trying to get away from my gender problem, and I wanted to do things. I wanted to get escape the monotony of life. I wasn't committed to a relationship, so my relationship was with myself. So I did things that helped me cope. And it was something that helped me grow and mature. And dealing with my mom and dad's struggles, I think I was running away from that too. Life for me was growing up very shy, lonely, insecure, depressed, unsure of myself. I used to wear girls' clothes underneath my boy clothes because I identified as a girl. I was always tongue-tied with people, especially girls. I remember when I was in the first grade, I had a crush on this cute girl. Her name was Karen Wilhoft. And I remember Karen and I were talking. She was actually the only girl that I really felt comfortable with talking to. Because she was like, she kind of like protected me. She knew I was quite shy. And she kind of tried to open me up. So I talked to her. I trusted her. But one day, I was talking with her when the nun, I went to a Catholic school, and the nun was giving a lesson, and she overheard me talking to her, and she walked in my direction, and she said, "Young man, there will be no talking in my classroom when I'm giving a lesson." And she took her yardstick and she hit me on the head with it. And it really was very traumatic for me. And I never talked socially after that for a long, long time. And I became very insecure and unsure of myself. And I didn't even talk to girls after that. That was like the nail that went through the coffin. It was just so traumatic that it affected me for a lot of my life. But I don't know. I think it was a lot of things that was contributing to my shyness. I was a good person, a good kid growing up. I always wanted to do my best. Life was always a challenge. My parents always taught me to believe that I can accomplish something and to never give up, to make a plan and to see it through, and to be strong inside. We only fail if we allow ourselves to fail. We may not have success immediately, but it doesn't mean that we give up. We have to strive and make plan and forge ahead. And I always remembered when I was struggling, when I was a mechanical engineering major, what my parents told me, and it helped me to cope when I was really struggling. And I never thought I could make it. I really was thinking of giving up, but I had to fight, and I had to be strong, and I persevered, and I was fortunate because I had loving parents, supportive parents, and they gave me the motivation to succeed. They helped me financially. They loved me. They provided me with all the love and support that I could ever ask for. The only thing that I never was able to do was to tell my parents about my gender issues. That was one of the things that I feel sad that I couldn't open up and express my own true self. I don't know if through the years they suspected anything, but I remember I used to place orders for girls' clothes that used to be mailed to the house, and a couple of times my mom would ask me, "What is this stuff?" And I just tried to skirt the issue, but I think she knew, but we just didn't talk about it. My mom was very ill. She had a mental issue. She had mental illness. She was manic depressive. She had a chemical imbalance. And my dad had his problems. So we were kind of a dysfunctional family. And we kind of were not all running in sync with each other. But we all loved each other and tried the best we could to support each other and encourage each other. So I know I came from a loving home, but I couldn't talk about my own personal struggles because I didn't want to affect my parents' health, to make it worse for them. So I had to kind of keep it inside me and not tell anyone. I had to live with this secret, and it was not an easy thing for me personally. And I so desperately wanted to live as a girl. I remember wanting to live as a girl when I was just a teenager, early teens. I know my earliest recollections of knowing that I was a girl in my heart was the age of 3, and the earliest recollection of my wanting to transition was around age 17, 18, my high school days, but I couldn't do that, and I grew up in a different generation. Today, kids are a lot more open about their gender struggles, and they seem to find a way to communicate it to their loved ones, family members, or interested members, and I think that's great. I certainly couldn't have done it myself, but I think it's great that kids of today are feeling more comfortable with expressing their gender identity and sharing it with their family. It's not always rosy. Unfortunately, there are tragedies, but I think it's positive overall, and I do enjoy the happy stories. We have too many sad stories, so I always appreciate the happy stories. I have my ups and downs. I suffer from mania. I am diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which is also it is manic depression actually, but it's called bipolar disorder now. I have mania, means that I have highs, lows. I remember in one space of time that I literally stayed up for almost 4 days straight, no sleep, and then it crashed, obviously, and I just slept the whole weekend, basically. So that I don't advise, and I don't know why I have that, but it's not good. I think a lot. I think about my future, think about my transition, I think about my family and my son, I think about my financial situation, I think of a lot of things, and it affects me. So I don't often sleep when I think too much about things like that. And it's not good to do that, and I know that. I also realize that I have a gender identity disorder, and I worry about being able to find employment eventually again. Currently I'm not working, I'm on disability, but I don't know what the future holds, and I have a double whammy. I'm transgender, and I struggle with depression, and I've been in psych hospitals, so I'm very concerned about that, and I don't know how to address the issue if it came up in conversation where they asked me to explain why I wasn't working for the whatever amount of time. Right now it's about maybe a little over 2 years, and it's hard to be optimistic, and that's also contributing to my depression because I'm alone a lot and I'm isolated and I don't have many friends to socialize with. I usually use Facebook as my medium for socialization.